The drum of Oyo spoke to the people. Some brought joy, others called for war. But there was one drum no one dared to touch, the seventh drum. One night, young Obadele, burning with curiosity, crept into the king's storeroom. The moonlight revealed the forbidden drum, covered in dust, forgotten by time. His fingers trembled as he reached out, just a touch. The moment his skin met the wood, the head turned ice cold. The drum let out a deep hollow sound, though no one had played it. Then a voice whispered his name. Obadele, you have awakened us. Watch till the end to uncover the legend of the seventh drum of Oyo. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling African folk tales. The village of Oyo was full of music. The sound of drum echoed in the air during festivals, ceremonies, and even times of war. The king's palace had 6 sacred drums, each drum for a special occasion. One night, as the villagers sat around a crackling fire, the old griot Baba Kofi leaned forward and spoke in a low voice. The 6 drums bring life to Oyo, he said. One for joy, one for war, one for harvest, one for birth, one for death, and one for the ancestors. The children listened closely, their eyes wide with excitement. But then, Baba Kofi's voice dropped to a whisper. But there's a 7th drum. The air felt heavy. The villagers looked at one another, uneasy. The 7th drum was never spoken of. Some said it was cursed. Others said it had a secret too dangerous to know. No one must ever touch the 7th drum, Baba Kofi warned, for it holds a power beyond our understanding. Obadele, a young boy with curious mind, felt his heart race. What could be so dangerous about a drum? He wanted to see it with his own eyes. That night, while everyone slept, he tiptoed out of his hut and sneaked towards the king's storeroom. Inside, the moonlight shone on the great drums, and there, in the corner, covered in dust, stood the 7th drum. His hand trembled as he reached out. The moment he touched it, a cold wind blew through the room. The drum let out a deep hollow sound without being played. Obadele gasped and pulled back, but it was too late. The 7th drum had awakened. The air felt strange. Shadow danced on the wall. The drum made a soft whispering sound, like a voice from another world. Obadele, he froze. Someone had called his name, but the room was empty. Then the voice came again. You have touched what was forbidden. Now you must listen. Obadele's feet felt stuck to the ground. He wanted to run, but something held him in place. The whispering voice seemed to come from inside his head. Oyo is not what it seems. Your people have hidden the truth. If you wish to know, strike the drum. His fingers shook. He remembered Baba Kofi's warning. But The hunger to know was stronger than his fear. Slowly, he picked up the drumstick lying beside the drum. His heart pounded like a second drum inside his chest. With a deep breath, he lifted his hand and bam! The sound was not like any drum he had heard before. It was not music. It was a cry, deep, sorrowful, and filled with something ancient. Suddenly, the air grew thick like mist. The room felt colder. The shadow in the corners of the room stretched and twisted. Shapes began to form. Glowing eyes appeared in the darkness. And then, one of the figures stepped forward. It looked like a man, but not just any man. It looked like Obadele. Obadele's breath caught in his throat. His leg felt weak. He wanted to run, but his feet refused to move. The spirit before him had his face, his eyes, his very shape, but it was not him. This was something older. Who are you? Obadele whispered, his voice shaking. The spirit stepped closer, his glowing eyes fixed on Obadele. I am you, he said, or rather, what you once were. Obadele's heart pounded. I don't understand, he cried. I have never met you before. The spirit sighed, his voice heavy with sorrow. You do not remember, but you have lived before. You were once a warrior of Oyo, long ago, and you made a terrible mistake. Obadele shook his head. No, that cannot be. I am just a boy. The spirit pointed at the seventh drum. Do you think you found the drum by accident? No. You were meant to find it. You were meant to remember. The mist swirled around them, growing thicker. Suddenly, the walls of the storeroom disappeared. Obadele gasped. He was no longer in the palace. He stood on a battlefield. All around him, warriors fought with spears and shields. The sky was dark with smoke. The air smelled of fire. In the middle of the battlefield stood a man, his part self, clutching the seventh drum. Then Obadele saw it. The moment his part self struck the drum and doomed the village. Obadele watched in horror. His part self, the warrior, stood tall with the seventh drum at his feet. His face was fierce, determined. We will not lose this battle, the warriors shouted. The spirit will fight for us. With a mighty swing, he struck the drum. Boom! The sky cracked with thunder. The ground trembled beneath their feet. And then the spirit came. They rose from the earth like dark smoke. Their eyes glowed like fire. The enemy's warrior froze, their weapons shaking in their hands. Obadele felt a flicker of hope. Had the spirit come to fight for you? But then, He saw their faces, twisted with anger, full of hunger. These were not protectors, they were destroyers. The spirits did not fight the enemy, they attacked everyone. The warriors of Oyo, the enemy warriors, the villagers. Obadele's part self screamed as he realized the truth. The drum had not summoned saviors, it had awakened a curse. Houses crumbled, crops turned to ash. The people cried out, but no one could stop the spirits. You see now, the ghostly Obadele said beside him, you brought this upon Oyo. That is why the drum was hidden. Obadele clutched his chest, his breathing fast. But I didn't know. I didn't mean to. Ignorance does not erase the past, the spirit said. And now, you have awakened it again. Obadele turned, his heart pounding. Then tell me, how do I stop it? The spirit's glowing eyes burned into him. You must do what you failed to do before. Obadele swallowed hard. And what is that? The spirit whispered. You must silence the drum. Obadele gasped. Silence the drum? But how? The mist swelled, and suddenly, he was back in the storeroom. The 7 drums sat before him, humming with power. The spirit hovered around it, watching, waiting. Obadele felt cold sweat on his skin. If I strike it again, what will happen? He asked. The spirit beside him did not answer. Obadele looked at the drumstick in his hand. One final beat. That was all it would take. But was it the right choice? The spirit whispered. Play it, and you will know all secrets. But beware. Obadele closed his eyes. He thought of his village, his people, his future. Then, with all his strength, he struck the drum one final time. Boom! A bright light filled the room. The spirit screamed. The mist swelled faster and faster. Then, silence. When Obadele opened his eyes, the drum was gone. Nothing but dust remained. Had he done it? As he stepped outside, the sun was rising. The village was still standing. The air was peaceful, but nothing felt different. He had changed. Obadele walked through the village. The people greeted him, unaware of what had happened. Only Baba Kofi watched him with knowing eyes. You touched the 7th drum, didn't you? The old griot asked. Obadele hesitated. I had to. Baba Kofi sighed. Then you have done what no one before you could do. You have silenced the spirit. Obadele swallowed. But they didn't leave right away. The old man nodded. They were watching you, Obadele, judging your heart. If you had struck the drum for power, the curse would have returned. But you did it to save the village. That is why they let you go. Obadele felt a chill. So, they chose to spare me. Yes, Baba Kofi said, but that does not mean the story is over. Obadele sat by the river, thinking. The spirit had said Oyo was hiding a truth. Had the village erased its path out of shame? Was the seventh drum truly evil? Or was it a warning that people had misunderstood? That night, Obadele asked Baba Kofi, why was the seventh drum hidden? The griot's face darkened. Because the village feared the truth. They feared what they had done in the past. But we must remember, Obadele insisted, if we forgot, the mistake could never happen again. Baba Kofi smiled. Perhaps that is why the drum called you. The story of Oyo must not be lost. The village looked at Obadele differently now. Some feared him. Some respected him. He had faced the spirit. He had touched the seventh drum. And he had lived. Baba Kofi placed a hand on Obadele's shoulder. What will you do now, child? Obadele stared into the fire. I will tell the story, he said, so that no one forgets, so that no one makes the same mistake again. The wind whispered through the tree, carrying the echoes of the drum. The past would no longer be hidden, and Obadele would never be the same. Thanks so much for listening to this story. I hope you have learned a thing or two. And please, if you haven't subscribed yet, kindly click on the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell, so whenever I post more interesting and insightful story like this, you will be the first to get them. And if you are a returning subscriber, I'm not taking you for granted. I'm gratefully. Love you all. See you in my next video. Bye.